So when I was in high school, a lot of the cool teachers would let the seniors out early last period so they could run to their cars and just go home. But my school had this janitor who everyone called Patchy because he had an eye patch. And before anyone comes for me, it was used endearingly and he knew about it and he called himself Patchy. Anyway, Patchy did not like when the seniors left early and he would zip around on his golf cart like around the parking lot trying to stop people from leaving early. Now the gig was if Patchy caught you and was able to stop you from leaving, like going in front of your car or like driving his golf cart into you, he would give you a detention slip and you weren't able to leave early and you would stay after school. So the funniest thing would be at like 2:30 p.m. you would see the seniors like crawling like underneath cars, hiding behind bushes. Some people would just go sprint into the parking lot and try to outrun Patchy and his golf cart. And the best is if like someone got caught by him while he was handing out the detention slip, everyone would run.
Get ready for me to sneak out to meet my online boyfriend. Okay, so it's currently 11 o'clock. So, I met my online boyfriend on Roblox, and he basically, today, he's been avoiding it for so long to meet up, and he won't show me his face. So, I'm really excited to see what he looks like. Okay, so he likes girls with like really like a lot of makeup, and I really want to make a good first impression. So, yeah, I'm really excited. Okay, so now the contour. Dun, 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 dun. So I asked him what time we're meeting and he left me undelivered. So, no, he actually left me unopened, sorry. So I'm really hoping he replies soon. Okay, let's blend out the contour. Okay, so he replied back and he said to meet me at the park near my house. So I honestly believe I'm gonna marry this guy, y'all. Like, he's just the sweetest. Stop. Okay, so his name is Josh. He's so fine, y'all. I'm kind of in an argument with one of my friends right now because I just messaged her saying, oh my god, I'm so excited, like, I'm gonna go see him. And then they were like, girl, like, be careful, he might be a catfish. And I was like, he's not a catfish. And they were like, well, how do you know that you haven't seen his face? And I was like, because I trust him. And they're like, okay, well, be careful. And I was just like, you literally are so fake. Like, you just don't want me to be happy. Like, honestly, it's giving jealous. Like, I just messaged Joshy Poo and I told him what my friend said. And he was like, you don't need to worry about your friends. Like, you should drop all of them. You don't need friends. You have me. And I was like, you are so right. Like, I honestly just, like, love having such, like, an amazing, supportive, hot boyfriend. Like, it just feels so nice. Like, honestly, who needs friends when you have a boyfriend? Like, literally my rock. Okay, so now I'm just going to set my whole face with the Technique translucent powder. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I know how people can get catfished and, like, all that. But, like, I just, like, trust Mimi and way too much. And I just know he's not fake. You can't fake that love. Like, by the way, I have some pictures of his face. And he's so hot. But then my friends asked to see it. So I sent... That wasn't me farting. That was a chair. So I sent it to them. And then they were like, this is literally a boy on Pinterest. And I was like, okay. Like, that's probably him. Like, girl, it has to be someone. And I did ask him about it. But he was like, you know, that is obviously me. Like, people just take my pictures a lot because, you know, I'm a model. Like, exactly. So I was like... So I told my friends that, and they were all like, are you sure? And then I told him that they weren't believing me, and he was like, I really don't. I think you should drop them. And obviously I was scared, but now I've realized that he is just so right. Time for lips. I'm really struggling with this pencil. Basically, he said he likes Latina girls. So I just did a full face because, like, that's what a lot of makeup is. Like, you know, like the ones with the full faces, so. I really hate this eyeliner because it's so like, it's a struggle to get the product out. It's really annoying because these saucers are like more open than these. Did I eat?
When I was 13 years old, I went to buy my first pair of sexy underwear. And of course I splashed out because I went to Primark and they were only £1. As I left Primark, I walked into the shopping centre and there was a group of 17-year-old boys and they were really fit. So I tried to strut and show off and then I fell over. My bags went flying and thongs went all over the floor. And an old man came and helped me pick them up. And as I gathered myself to leave, one of the fit boys tapped me on the shoulder. And he said, "You missed one," and handed me a lacy thong.
Every month a parade passes through my town and we're not allowed to look at it. I've lived in Arizona the past 15 years of my life, but I used to live in a small town in the middle of nowhere. I couldn't even tell you what side of the country it's on or if it's even in the United States. The only thing I know for certain is the name of the town, Point Pine. I lived in Point Pine for the first 10 years of my life, but after my 10th birthday we moved out of the town and my parents never spoke of it again. They were trying to forget about that town and I didn't blame them. Since moving out of that town, Point Pine has not been mentioned again. Well, until now when I'm telling you about it. I want to preface this with saying that when I lived there, all of these things seemed totally normal as residents. But now looking back, it's kind of scary. One peculiar thing was the Point Pine Bakery. Whenever you went there, Mr. Terrence, the owner, already knew what you were going to order. There was a rumor spread by the kids around town that he was a magician that could read your mind. Also, whenever you paid for your baked goods, you had to tip him in clothing, usually being something that you grew out of. There was an old box up by the register filled with old baby clothes and shoes. That was one of the weird things, but it's not odd at all compared to the other things. Every year on your birthday, you had to get blood work done. To this day, I still don't know what the point of that was. Another weird rule was everyone had to be up at 8:13 a.m. There were even speakers for an alarm that would go off at 8:13 a.m. all over town, like some kind of amusement park. When those alarms went off, parents would wake their children as fast as possible as if it was like a fire or something. But certainly one of the weirdest things that happened in Point Pine was the Point Pine monthly parade. It happened every month without fail, and it was never on the same date. Each month, a student from Pine Point was chosen to be in the parade. The weird thing about this parade is that we weren't allowed to watch it go by. Not on the streets, not from the windows, and not even on television. We always knew when the parade was about to start because it always started the exact same way. You would hear a chorus of voices, like a church choir. The melody wasn't familiar to me. It sounded like it could be a nursery rhyme or something similar to that. Once you heard the first note, you had 5 minutes to get inside. Well, one year around 4th of July, me and my friend Lee decided we were going to break the rules and watch the parade. Which, now that I think about it, I'm surprised more kids didn't try to do this, because when you tell a kid not to do something, obviously they're gonna do it. But we didn't know where it was gonna be, when it was gonna start, or the path it was gonna take around town, so we had to just wait. Around the 3rd week of the month, we heard the chorus start. Me and Lee looked at each other and darted off into the trees. Everyone else near us raced to the nearest building. This year, my sister's friend Reed was chosen to work the parade. We were crouching in the bushes when we heard the chorus of voices get louder and louder, and then Lee said, "Dude, I see it." He tried to straighten up to see what he was seeing, but I was always a short kid and I couldn't see over the brush. Then Lee said, "Oh no," and covered his head and ducked down, hiding from them. I yelled to Lee, "I can't see anything." Then Lee goes, "Shh, they might see us." I froze with fear and I stopped moving until they were about to pass right in front of us. Then Lee dove to the ground. Lee screams, "Oh no," and gets in a cradle-like position. Then he covers his head with his hands. I looked at Lee and asked, "What?" "I saw her. I saw that girl," he yelled. That's when I realized he was talking about Reed. I tried to get up to see, but Lee pulled me down to the ground. Then he looked at me and he said, "You don't want to see it." I think this was the first time in all the years I've known Lee that he looked genuinely terrified. I turned my back on the parade and looked at Lee.
I'd had enough. I asked him, what did you see? He looked at me and said those things. They're eating her. But she doesn't even care. When Lee told me this, he started crying. At this point, part of me didn't even want to see what was going on with the parade. That's when I heard the singing get louder. They were coming towards us. I shut my eyes, but the voices continued for a few more minutes. At one point, Lee started wailing. I kept my eyes shut the entire time. After that, it continued along and made its way through town. Once we started to hear everyone get out of their hiding spaces, I leaned down to help Lee get up. But when he stood up, he kept his head down. Lee, what's wrong? I asked. I could hear him sniffling. So I asked him again, Lee? He finally responded as he lifted his head. It took my eyes. I will never forget that moment when he looked up at me with no eyes. The day after that, me and my family moved out of Point Pine. I never knew what became of Lee after that day. Just minutes after we left, my parents started to act like Point Pine never existed. And as far as I know, Lee was the only person to ever see me